Your brain wants you to skip this because it recognizes something dangerous in these words, something that threatens its comfortable dominion over your life. It senses that what I am about to share with you has the power to revolutionize your entire existence, to lift you from whatever circumstances currently confine you, and to place you in possession of powers you have only dreamed possible. The brain, in its protective wisdom, would rather you remain exactly as you are than risk the unknown territory of becoming who you truly are. But tonight I ask you to be still and know that you are more than your brain's cautious whispers. You are consciousness itself, the very power by which all things are brought into being. The resistance you feel, that subtle urge to turn away, to check your phone, to think about tomorrow's obligations, that very resistance is the first sign that you are approaching something of immense value. For the brain resists most strongly what will serve you most powerfully. Consider for a moment the times in your life when you experienced the greatest growth, the most profound transformation. Were these moments comfortable? Did your brain encourage you toward them? No, my friends. Every breakthrough you have ever experienced came through walking directly into the very territory your brain advised you to avoid. The brain's resistance is not a stop sign. It is a signpost pointing toward your greatest opportunities for expansion. When I first discovered the truth of imagination, when I realized that the world is but a projection of human consciousness, my own brain rebelled against this knowledge. It presented me with every rational argument, every scientific objection, every philosophical contradiction it could muster. It reminded me of my humble beginnings, of my lack of formal education, of all the reasons why such profound truths could not possibly be accessible to someone like me. And yet here I stand before you tonight, living proof that the brain's protests are merely the birth pangs of a greater understanding. Your brain wants you to skip this because it cannot compute the mathematics of miracle. It operates within the realm of cause and effect, of logical progression, of gradual change. But what I speak of tonight transcends these limitations. I speak of the instantaneous transformation that occurs when consciousness recognizes its own creative power. I speak of the moment when you realize that you need not wait for external circumstances to change before you can become what you desire to be. This realization is so foreign to your brain's programming that it will do everything in its power to prevent you from receiving it. The brain thrives on problems to solve, on obstacles to overcome, on reasons why things cannot be accomplished immediately. It finds comfort in complexity, in the need for long-term planning, in the security of step-by-step processes. But the truth I share with you tonight is beautifully, powerfully simple. You are already that which you seek to become. You need only assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, and your external world will conform to this inner conviction. This simplicity is precisely what your brain cannot accept. It demands to know how this will happen, through what channels, by what means, according to what timeline. It insists on a detailed roadmap before it will allow you to take the first step. But imagination operates by entirely different laws. It works through what appears to be coincidence, through seeming chance encounters, through opportunities that arise from sources your rational mind could never have predicted or planned. Your brain wants you to skip this because it recognizes that these words, once truly understood and applied, will render many of its protective functions obsolete. No longer will you need to worry about how your desires will be fulfilled. No longer will you need to figure out every detail in advance. No longer will you need to wait for permission from external authorities before claiming your good. The brain, sensing this threatened revolution, mounts its resistance before you even fully hand what is being offered. But I tell you tonight that this resistance is not to be feared or fought. It is simply to be understood and gently set aside. Like a loving parent who must sometimes ignore a child's protests for the child's own good, You must sometimes move forward despite your brain's objections. For your brain, while serving you faithfully in many ways, cannot see beyond the horizon of its own programming. The programming of your brain was established long before you understood your true nature. It was formed in childhood, shaped by the beliefs and limitations of those around you, conditioned by a world that does not yet recognize the creative power of human consciousness. This programming tells you that you must struggle for what you want, that you must prove yourself worthy, that you must overcome countless obstacles before you can claim your heart's desire. But all of this programming is based on a fundamental misunderstanding of who and what you really are. You are not a physical being having occasional spiritual experiences. You are a spiritual being, pure consciousness, temporarily focused through a physical form. This consciousness that you are is the very power by which the entire universe was brought into existence. When the scriptures say that God made man in his own image, they speak of this consciousness, this creative power that dwells within you right now, at this very moment. Your brain resists this truth because it cannot be verified through the five senses. Your brain trusts only what can be measured, weighed, and proven according to external standards. But consciousness operates in a realm beyond the physical senses. It works through intuition, through faith, through the feeling of certainty that transcends rational proof. Your brain, encountering this realm, feels like a fish out of water, and its natural response is to retreat to more familiar territory. When I tell you that you can become wealthy by assuming the feeling of wealth, your brain immediately objects. It wants to know where the money will come from, what job you must get, what investments you must make, what steps you must. It cannot conceive of wealth appearing without a logical chain of causation. But consciousness knows nothing of such limitations. It operates by assumption and feeling, and the external world has no choice but to conform to these inner convictions. When I tell you that you can become healthy by assuming perfect health, your brain protests even more vigorously. It reminds you of medical diagnosis, of genetic predispositions, of age-related decline, of all the reasons why perfect health is impossible. But the consciousness that you are knows nothing of these limitations. It created the body in which it dwells, and it can recreate that body according to any pattern it chooses to assume. When I tell you that you can experience love by becoming love, your brain searches frantically for the perfect person who might love you back. It wants to know where you will meet this person, what you must do to attract them, how you must change yourself to be worthy of their affection. But consciousness recognizes that love is not something to be obtained from another, but something to be assumed within yourself. When you truly become love, when you feel the reality of being loved and cherished, the external world must produce the experiences that match this inner state. Your brain wants you to skip this teaching because it threatens the very foundation upon which your brain has built your identity. Your brain has convinced you that you are your history, that you are your current circumstances, that you are the sum total of your past experiences and external conditions. But consciousness knows that you are none of these things. You are pure creative potential, free to assume any state of being you choose, unlimited by any previous experience or current condition. This freedom is terrifying to the brain because it requires taking responsibility for your life in a way that transcends blame, excuse, and victim consciousness. It means acknowledging that your current circumstances, whatever they may be, are the perfect reflection of your past assumptions and feelings. It means recognizing that if you want different circumstances, you must assume different states of consciousness. This level of responsibility is far more challenging than the brain's preferred narrative of external causation and gradual change. The brain prefers to believe that your circumstances are caused by forces beyond your control. The economy, your upbringing, other people's actions, genetic factors, societal conditions, and countless other external influences. This belief system allows the brain to maintain its sense of victimhood, while simultaneously avoiding the responsibility that comes with true creative power. But consciousness recognizes that all these external factors are simply the shadows cast by your inner states, the external manifestation of your internal assumptions. When you truly understand this principle, when you recognize that you are the operant power in your own life, your brain's resistance reaches its peak intensity. It will flood your awareness with every doubt, every fear, every rational objection it can summon. It will remind you of every time you have tried and failed, every disappointment you have experienced, every reason why this time will be no different. This is the moment when most people turn back, when they decide that these teachings are too good to be true, when they return to the familiar territory of struggle and limitation. But I urge you tonight to push through this resistance, to persist in your assumption, despite your brain's protests. For on the other side of this resistance lies a realm of creative freedom that few human beings ever discover. On the other side of this resistance lies the recognition that you are the author of your own experience, the sculptor of your own reality, the master of your own fate. Your brain cannot conceive of instantaneous transformation because it operates in the dimension of time. It thinks in terms of past, present, and future, of causes and effects separated by duration. But consciousness operates in the eternal now, where all possibilities exist simultaneously, where you can be in one state in this moment and in an entirely different state in the next. This is why the Bible tells us that with God, 1,000 years are as a day, and a day as 1,000 years. Consciousness exists beyond the constraints of linear time. This is why your brain wants you to skip this teaching. It recognizes at some level that these words have the power to liberate you from time itself, to free you from the gradual unfoldment that the brain considers natural and necessary. It senses that once you truly understand the timeless nature of consciousness, you will no longer be willing to wait months or years for your desires to manifest. You will expect immediate transformation. And this expectation itself will become the bridge to your fulfillment. The brain's attachment to time serves many protective functions. It allows you to postpone taking full responsibility for your life by suggesting that change takes time, that transformation is gradual, that you must be patient with the process. But consciousness knows no such limitations. In consciousness, you can be poor in one moment and rich in the next, sick in one moment and healthy in the next, lonely in one moment and beloved in the next. The only time that exists is now. And in the eternal now, all things are possible. Your brain resists this teaching because it challenges the very narrative structure by which it organizes your experience. Your brain creates stories about your life, where you came from, who you are, where you are going, what is possible for you, what is not possible for you. These stories provide a sense of continuity and identity that the brain considers essential for psychological survival. But consciousness recognizes that all stories are optional, that you can step out of any narrative at any moment and into any other narrative you choose. This freedom to change your story, to assume a new identity, to become someone entirely different in this very moment, is perhaps the most threatening concept your brain will ever encounter. For if you can become anyone you choose to be, what happens to the carefully constructed identity the brain has spent years or decades building? What happens to all the reasons and justifications for your current limitations? What happens to the elaborate defense mechanisms that have kept you safe within familiar boundaries? The brain's resistance to transformation is not malicious. It is protective. It genuinely believes it is keeping you safe by maintaining the status quo. It has learned to associate the unknown with danger and the familiar with safety. But this protective mechanism, while serving you in childhood and in genuinely dangerous situations, becomes a prison when it prevents you from claiming your birthright of unlimited creative expression. I want you to understand that the resistance you feel right now, as you hear these words, is not a sign that you should turn away. It is a sign that you are approaching something of immense value. It is your brain's way of saying, pay attention. This is important. This could change everything. The intensity of the resistance is directly proportional to the magnitude of the transformation that awaits you. When Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force, he was speaking of this very principle. He was not advocating physical violence, but rather the kind of determined persistence required to move through the brain's resistance and claim your spiritual birthright. He was speaking of the courage required to assume your desired state, despite every rational objection, every emotional protest, every habitual pattern that would pull you back to familiar territory. Your brain wants you to skip this because it knows that once you truly understand and apply these principles, there will be no going back. Once you have tasted the freedom of conscious creation, once you have experienced the power of assumption made manifest, you will never again be content with the slow, struggle-filled methods the world teaches. You will have discovered a secret that transcends all worldly wisdom, a power that makes you independent of external conditions. This independence is what the brain fears most. For if you no longer need external validation, external permission, external resources, or external circumstances to change before you can happy and fulfill, then what role does the brain's protective worrying serve? If you can assume any state and have it manifest in your experience, then what purpose do all the brain's careful calculations and contingency plans serve? The brain has invested enormous energy in learning the rules of the external world, in figuring out how things work, in developing strategies for survival and success. But consciousness operates by entirely different rules, rules that the brain cannot learn through study or experience. Consciousness operates by faith, by feeling, by assumption, by the simple act of accepting something as true before there is any external evidence to support it. This is why Jesus said that unless you become as little children, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. Children have not yet developed the sophisticated resistance patterns of the adult brain. They can easily imagine themselves as princes and princesses, as superheroes and adventurers, as anything they choose to be. They have not yet learned that transformation takes time, that dreams require justification, that desire must be earned through struggle and sacrifice. Your brain wants you to skip this teaching because it recognizes the childlike simplicity of faith that is required to apply it. It knows that you must set aside your adult sophistication, your rational analysis, your need for logical proof, and simply assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. This kind of surrender feels dangerous to the brain, which has spent years developing protective skepticism and rational defenses. But I tell you tonight that this surrender is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of supreme strength. It takes far more courage to assume your desired state without external proof than to wait for circumstances to justify your assumption. It takes far more power to create your reality from the inside out than to react to circumstances that appear to come from outside. It takes far more wisdom to trust the creative power of your own consciousness than to depend on the world to give you what you need. The world as you see it is nothing more than your consciousness pushed out, your inner states made manifest in external form. Every person you encounter is playing a role in the drama of your consciousness. Every situation you experience is reflecting back to you the assumptions you hold about yourself and your life. Once you truly understand this principle, once you recognize that you are both the author and the main character in the story of your life, your entire relationship with reality transforms. Your brain resists this teaching because it has been trained to look outside for solutions, to seek external sources of happiness, success, love, and fulfillment. It cannot easily accept that everything you have been seeking in the outer world is already present within your own consciousness, waiting only for your recognition and assumption. The idea that you need not go anywhere, do anything, or become anyone other, what you choose to be right now challenges every brain the brain has developed for achieving your desires. But this is the glorious truth that I proclaim to you tonight. You are already perfect, already complete, already in possession of everything you could ever want or need. The only thing that separates you from the full experience of your desires is the belief that you must somehow earn them, deserve them, or wait for them to come to you from outside. In consciousness, you need only assume the feeling of having them now, and the external world will arrange itself to match this inner conviction. This is not positive thinking, not visualization, not affirmation. This is something far more powerful. This is the recognition that consciousness, the only reality, that your feeling of yourself is the only fact, that your assumption about your life is the only truth that matters. Everything else is simply the shadow cast by these inner convictions, the external reflection of your internal states. Your brain cannot compute this mathematics because it operates in the realm of effect, while consciousness operates in the realm of cause. Your brain sees the physical world as solid, permanent, and independent of your thoughts and feelings. But consciousness recognizes that the physical world is fluid, malleable, and completely dependent on the assumptions held by conscious beings. Change your assumption and you change your world. It is that simple and that profound. The simplicity of this truth is what makes it so difficult for the brain to accept. The brain is comfortable with complexity, with elaborate systems and lengthy processes. It can understand working for years to achieve a goal, studying for decades to master a skill, or slowly building wealth through careful planning and disciplined action. But the idea that you can assume wealth and have it manifest immediately, that you can assume health and be healed instantly, that you can assume love and attract it effortlessly. This challenges everything the brain believes about how reality operates. Yet this is exactly what consciousness can do, and this is exactly what you can do once you understand your true nature. You are not a body with consciousness, you are consciousness with a body. You are not a person who sometimes has spiritual experiences, you are spirit temporarily focused through a personal identity. You are not someone who might someday develop the power to create your reality. You are that power right now, in this very moment, whether you recognize it or not. Your current circumstances, whatever they may be, are simply the result of your past assumptions. They have no power to limit you unless you give them that power through your continued assumption that they are fixed and unchangeable. The moment you assume a different state, the moment you feel yourself to be different than you appear to be, you begin the process of transformation that must and will manifest in your external experience. This is why your brain wants you to skip this teaching. It knows that once you truly understand this principle, once you experience its power in your own life, you will no longer be willing to accept limitation as natural or necessary. You will expect miracles as your normal experience. You will assume the best in every situation. You will feel yourself to be blessed, favored, and fortunate regardless of external appearances. The brain prefers predictability, even if that predictability includes struggle, limitation, and dissatisfaction. It would rather have you remain in familiar problems and venture into unknown possibilities. This is why so many people sabotage their own success, why they retreat from opportunities, why they settle for less than they truly desire. The brain's need for safety often conflicts with consciousness's drive for expansion and expression. But tonight I invite you to choose expansion over safety, possibility over predictability, faith over fear. I invite you to feel yourself to be exactly what you most desire to be. Regardless of current appearances, regardless of past history, regardless of external circumstances. I invite you to assume the noble state of consciousness that corresponds to your heart's deepest longing, and to maintain that assumption with religious devotion until it hardens into fact. This is not self-deception. This is self-creation. You are not pretending to be something you are not. You are choosing to be something you have always been but have forgotten. You are not lying to yourself about your circumstances. You are choosing to align yourself with a higher truth than circumstances can reflect. You are not ignoring reality. You are choosing to operate from a more fundamental level of reality than the one most people recognize. The reality that most people accept as final is actually the most superficial level of reality. It is the world of effects, of shadows, of reflections. But consciousness operates from the realm of cause, where all effects originate, where all possibilities exist, where you have complete creative freedom. From this level of reality, you can assume any state and watch it manifest in the world of effects. Your brain resists this teaching because it has been conditioned to believe that the world of effects is more real than the world of cause, that external circumstances are more powerful than internal states, that what appears to be is more true than what you choose to assume. But consciousness knows that assumption is the only reality. That feeling is the only truth. That what you choose to be in your imagination is what you become in your experience. This is why the mystics throughout history have proclaimed that the physical world is illusion, that matter is simply energy vibrating at a lower frequency, that time and space are constructs of limited perception. They understood that consciousness is the only reality, and that everything else is simply consciousness expressing itself in various forms and patterns. When you truly understand this principle, when you recognize that you are consciousness itself temporarily focused through a human personality, your relationship with the entire world changes. You no longer feel victimized by circumstances because you understand that all circumstances are your own creation. You no longer feel limited by history because you understand that you can create a new history by assuming a new state of being. You no longer feel dependent on others because you understand that others are simply reflecting back to you your own inner convictions about yourself. This recognition brings tremendous freedom, but it also brings tremendous responsibility. Or if you are the creator of your own experience, then you cannot blame anyone else for what you experience. If consciousness is the only reality, then you must take full responsibility for the reality you create through your assumptions and feelings. Your brain resists this level of responsibility because it prefers comfort of victimhood, the safety of blame, the familiarity of external causation. It is much easier to point to outside factors as the cause of your problems than to recognize that your problems are the perfect reflection of your inner states. It is much more comfortable to wait for circumstances to change than to take responsibility for changing them through a shift in consciousness. But I tell you tonight that this responsibility is not a burden, it is your greatest gift. For if you are responsible for creating your current reality, then you have the power to create any reality you choose. If your circumstances are the result of your assumptions, then you can change your circumstances by changing your assumptions. If your experience is the reflection of your inner states, then you can transform your experience by transforming your inner states. This power is available to you right now, in this very moment. You need not wait for better circumstances, more knowledge, or external permission. You need only choose to assume the state of consciousness that corresponds to your desire, and maintain that assumption with unwavering faith until it manifests in your external world. The process is simple, but it requires the kind of faith that your brain finds threatening. You must assume your desired state is already accomplished. Feel yourself to be what you want to be, and persist in this assumption regardless of contrary evidence from the senses. You must live in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, acting from the conviction that what you have assumed is already true, even when the external world has not yet reflected this truth. This is what separates the successful practitioner of these principles from the mere student of them. The student understands the theory but waits for proof before fully committing to the assumption. The practitioner assumes first and allows the proof to follow. The student wants to see in order to believe. The practitioner believes in order to see. Your brain wants you to be a student rather than a practitioner, because the student position is safe. The student can always fall back on the excuse that they need more understanding, more practice, more time to develop their abilities. But the practitioner takes the risk of assumption without external validation, knowing that consciousness responds only to conviction, not to intellectual understanding. Tonight I challenge you to move from student to practitioner, from understanding to application, from theory to experience. I challenge you to choose one desire, one state of being that you long to experience, and to assume it completely regardless of current circumstances. I challenge you to feel yourself to be what to be, to live in the conviction of your wish fulfilled, to persist in this assumption until it hardens into fact. This is not easy, but it is simple. Your brain will present you with 1,000 reasons why this cannot work, why you should wait, why you should be more realistic, why you should settle for less. But consciousness knows no such limitations. In consciousness, all things are possible to the one who believes. All desires are attainable to the one who assumes. All dreams are realizable to the one who feels them to be already accomplished. The choice is before you now. Will you listen to your brain's counsel of caution and limitation? Or will you dare to assume the nobility of your true nature? Will you continue to identify with your circumstances, or will you identify with desires? Will you remain a victim of what appears to be? Or will you become the conscious creator of what ought to be? I cannot make this choice for you, and neither can anyone else. This is the fundamental choice that every conscious being must make, to create deliberately or to create by default, to assume consciously or to assume unconsciously, to take responsibility for your creative power or to remain unaware of it. The power itself cannot be destroyed or diminished, but it can be used constructively or destructively, deliberately or accidentally, consciously or unconsciously. Your brain wants you to skip this teaching because it recognizes that these words, once truly understood and applied, will forever change your relationship with reality. You will never again be content to be a victim of circumstances. You will never again accept limitation as natural or necessary. You will never again wait for external permission to claim your good. You will recognize yourself as the operant power in your own life, the conscious creator of our own experience, the master of your own fate. This recognition brings with it a profound sense of freedom, but also a profound sense of responsibility. For when you understand that you are consciousness itself, temporarily focused through a human personality, you can no longer excuse your failures, blame your circumstances, or depend on others to create your happiness. You must assume full responsibility for your creative power and use it wisely, lovingly, and constructively. The world needs more conscious creators, more people who understand their true nature and use their creative power deliberately rather than accidentally. The world needs more people who refuse to be victims of circumstances, who dare to assume states of consciousness that transcend current limitations, who have the courage to feel themselves to be what they desire to be regardless of external appearances. You have this power within you right now. You have always had this power, and you will always have this power. The only question is whether you will recognize it, accept it, and use it consciously, or whether you will continue to use it unconsciously while believing yourself to be at the mercy of external forces. Tonight, I invite you to make the choice for conscious creation. I invite you to assume the state of consciousness that corresponds to your highest and most noble desires. I invite you to feel yourself to be blessed, prosperous, healthy, loved, and fulfilled, regardless of current circumstances. I invite you to live in the feeling of your wish fulfilled until that feeling becomes your natural state of being. This is not fantasy, this is the highest reality. This is not escape from the world. This is the conscious creation of a better world. This is not self-deception. This is self-realization. You are not pretending to be something you are not. You are finally allowing yourself to be what you have always been. Pure consciousness, unlimited creative power, the very force by which the universe was brought into existence. Your brain will continue to resist this teaching because that is its nature, but you need not be governed by your brain's limitations. You can acknowledge its concerns while choosing to act from a higher level of understanding. You can thank your brain for its protective intentions while gently setting aside its objections. You can honor its service while refusing to be limited by its programming. The time has come for you to claim your birthright as a conscious creator. The time has come for you to assume the noble state of being that your heart knows to be true. The time has come for you to stop skipping the most important teaching you will ever receive and to embrace the magnificent truth of your own creative power. You are not a victim of circumstances. You are not limited by your past. You are not dependent on external conditions for your happiness and fulfillment. You are consciousness itself, temporarily focused through a human form, with the power to create any reality you choose to assume. This is the truth that your brain wants you to skip. And this is exactly why you must embrace it with all your heart, all your mind, and all your soul. The kingdom of heaven is within you, and you enter that kingdom not by waiting for external circumstances to change, but by assuming the consciousness of already being there. Your desired state is not something you must travel to reach. It is something you must assume to experience. Your perfect life is not something that might happen to you in the future. It is something you can choose to live right now by feeling yourself to be the person who is already living it. This is the secret that mystics and sages have proclaimed throughout the ages. You are already what you seek to become. You need only assume the feeling of being it, persist in that assumption despite contrary evidence, and watch as your external world transforms to match your world. This is the law of consciousness, and it operates with mathematical precision in your life, whether you understand it or not. Tonight, choose to understand it. Tonight, choose to apply it. Tonight, choose to assume the state of consciousness that corresponds to a heart's deepest desire. Feel yourself to be what you long to be. Live in the conviction of your wish fulfilled. Persist in this assumption with unwavering faith and prepare to witness the miracle of consciousness expressing itself as your transformed life. Your brain may continue to protest, but consciousness will respond. Your rational mind may continue to doubt, but your subconscious will accept. Your circumstances may temporarily remain the same, but your reality will begin to shift the moment you assume your desired state and feel it to be true. This is the promise. This is the law. And this is your destiny as a conscious being created in the image and likeness of the creative power of the universe itself. Imagine, if you will, a world where everything you desire is already yours. A world where the mere act of wanting something pushes it further away, while the state of already possessing it in your imagination draws it closer to your physical reality. This is not a fanciful notion, but the very law by which our universe operates. Let us begin by understanding that your consciousness is the only reality. Everything that you perceive in your outer world is but a reflection of your inner states. When you say, I want, or I need, you are affirming to the universe that you do not have. And in doing so, you perpetuate that very state of lack. But when you shift your consciousness to a state of already having, when you no longer need it because in your imagination you already possess it, that is when the outer world begins to rearrange itself to match your inner conviction. Consider for a moment the nature of God. In Scripture are told, I am that I am. This is not merely a name, but a description of the creative power that resides within each of us. When you say I am, you are invoking this divine power. And whatever follows I am becomes the mold into which your life experiences are cast. So when you no longer need something, when you have moved beyond the state of wanting and into the state of being, you are aligning yourself with this creative power. You are declaring to the universe, I am that which I desire to be. And the universe, faithful to its nature, begins to reflect this new state of being. Let me share with you a principle that may at first seem counterintuitive, but which holds the key to unlocking this paradox. The principle is this: act as though it were impossible to fail. When you truly embody this principle, you are no longer striving or struggling to achieve. You are simply being that which you desire to be. Imagine a man who desires wealth. As long as he focuses on his current lack of money, as long as he says, I need more money, or I want to be rich, he is affirming his current state of poverty. But the moment he begins to feel wealthy, when he walks and talks and thinks as a wealthy person would, even before a single penny has changed in his bank account, he has set in motion the forces that will bring about his financial abundance. This is the art of revision, of rewriting your own story. You see, my dear friends, time is merely a concept created by our consciousness. The past, present, and future exists simultaneously in the eternal now. When you revise your concept of self, when you live from the end as though your desire were already fulfilled, you are re-rewriting present and future all at once. But here is where the paradox deepens. As you begin to live in this state of fulfillment, as you embody the consciousness of already having that which you desire, something miraculous happens. You begin to detach from the outcome. The burning need, the desperate wanting begins to fade away. And it is precisely in this moment of detachment that your desire often manifests in the physical world. Why is this so? Because in releasing your attachment in no longer needing it, you have aligned yourself with the natural flow of the universe. You have moved from a state of resistance, of pushing against what is, to a state of allowance. And in this state of allowance, miracles become commonplace. Think of it like this: when you clench your fist tightly around something, your muscles become tense, rigid. But when you relax your grip, when you open your hand, you create space for new things to come into your life. This is the essence of letting go, of no longer needing. But let me be clear, my friends. This is not about becoming indifferent or apathetic. Far from it. This is about cultivating a deep, unshakable faith in the creative power of your own consciousness. It is about knowing with every fiber of your being that what you desire is already yours in the realm of imagination, and therefore must manifest in your physical reality. Remember, the outer world is dead. It has no life of its own. It is your consciousness that animates it, that gives it meaning and form. When you change your consciousness, when you shift your inner state, the outer world has no choice but to conform to this new pattern. Let us explore this concept further through the lens of love and relationships. Many seek a loving partner, focusing on their current state of loneliness or lack. They say, I want to find my soulmate, or I need someone to complete me. But in doing so, they are affirming their incompleteness, their lack of love. Now, imagine instead that you begin to embody the state of being in a loving relationship. You feel the warmth, the joy, the companionship, as though your ideal partner were already by your side. You live each day from this state of fulfillment. What happens then? Often it is precisely when you no longer feel the desperate need for a relationship that the perfect partner appears in your life. This is not coincidence or chance. This is the law of assumption at work. By assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, by living in the end, you have changed your vibration, your energy, and the universe in its infinite wisdom brings to you that which matches your new state of being. But the paradox grows even deeper as you begin to live from this state of fulfillment. As you embody the consciousness of already having a loving relationship, you may find that your need for an external partner diminishes. You discover that the love you sought outside yourself was always within you. And in this discovery, you become truly whole, truly complete. It is from this place of wholeness that you can then enter into a relationship not from a place of need or lack, but from a place of abundance and joy. And it is these relationships born of wholeness rather than need that are often the most fulfilling and lasting. The same principle applies to all areas of life, health, career, personal growth. When you no longer need perfect health because you already feel vibrant and alive in your imagination, that is when your body often begins to heal itself. When you no longer desperately seek success because you already feel successful in your mind's eye, that is when opportunities seem to magically appear. But let me caution you, my friends, this is not about wishful thinking or idle daydreaming. This is about a disciplined use of your imagination, coupled with a deep, unwavering faith in the creative power of your consciousness. It requires persistence and patience. For while the seed of your desire is planted instantly in the moment you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, it may take time for that seed to grow and bear fruit in your physical reality. During this period of gestation, you must guard your mind carefully, for doubts and fears will try to creep in, attempting to uproot the seed you have planted. This is where many falter, where many give up just before their desire is about to manifest. They say, I've tried this, and it doesn't work. But in saying so, they are once again affirming lack, once again pushing away that which they desire. Instead, you must persist in your assumption. You must live each day as though your desire were already fulfilled, regardless of any contrary evidence presented by your senses. For remember, your senses only show you a reflection of past states of consciousness. They cannot show you what is coming, what is already set in motion by your shift in consciousness. This persistence in assumption is what I call the art of patience. It is not a passive waiting, but an active state of being. It is living each day from the consciousness of already being or having that which you desire, knowing with unshakable faith that it must manifest in your physical reality. And here we come to another aspect of the paradox. As you persist in this state, as you continue to live from the end, something remarkable happens. You begin to enjoy the journey itself. The present moment becomes infused with the joy and fulfillment of your imagined future. And in this enjoyment of the present, in this cessation of striving for a future state, you open yourself up even more fully to receiving that which you have imagined. Consider the story of Joseph in the Bible. Sold into slavery by his brothers, imprisoned unjustly, he could have focused on his current circumstances, on his need to escape his situation. But instead, he lived from the state of being a ruler, of being wise and respected. And in time, he rose to become second only to Pharaoh in all of Egypt. Joseph's story illustrates a crucial point. Your circumstances do not determine your state of consciousness. Rather, your state of consciousness determines your circumstances. No matter where you find yourself, no matter what challenges you face, You have the power to choose your inner state, to live from the end. This is the true meaning of free will. It is not the ability to control external events, but the power to choose your inner state regardless of external circumstances. And in choosing your inner state, in assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you set in motion the forces that will reshape your outer world. But let us delve even deeper into this paradox. As you begin to master this art of living from the end, as you become adept at assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you may find that your desires themselves begin to change. What once seemed crucial and all-important may fade in significance. New higher aspirations may take their place. This too is part of the paradox of manifestation. For as you align yourself more and more with your true self, with the divine creative power within you, your desires naturally evolve. You begin to want not just for yourself, but for the greater good. Your manifestations become not just personal achievements, but gifts to the world. And here we touch upon the ultimate paradox. As you master the art of manifestation, as you learn to create your reality through the power of your consciousness, you may find that your greatest desire becomes simply to be an instrument of the divine, to allow the infinite creative power to flow through you unimpeded, to manifest not for personal gain, but for the upliftment of all. In this state, you no longer manifest from a place of lack or need. You manifest from a place of abundance, of overflowing love and creativity. And it is in this state that the most miraculous manifestations often occur. For when you align yourself fully with the divine creative power, when you become a clear channel for this power to flow into the world, you become capable of manifesting not just personal desires, but profound transformations that benefit all of humanity. This, my dear friends, is the highest form of manifestation. It is no longer about getting, but about giving. It is no longer about fulfilling personal desires, but about allowing yourself to be used as an instrument of the divine will. And paradoxically, it is in this state of complete surrender, of no longer needing or wanting anything for yourself, that you often receive more abundance than you ever dreamed possible. But how does one reach this exalted state? How does one move from manifesting personal desires to becoming a channel for divine manifestation? The path is the same as we have been discussing. It begins with assuming the state of the wish fulfilled, with living from the end. But in this case, the end you are living from is the state of being one with the divine creative power. Imagine yourself as a clear channel, a perfect instrument through which the infinite creativity of the universe flows. Feel the joy, the peace, the sense of purpose that comes with this state. Live each day from this consciousness and watch as your life transforms in ways you never imagined possible. This is not to say that you should deny or suppress your personal desires. Rather, it is about expanding your consciousness to include ever greater, more inclusive desires. It is about aligning your personal will with the divine will, recognizing that at the deepest level they are one and the same. As you practice this, you may find that the paradox of manifestation resolves itself. For when you are fully aligned with the divine creative power, when you are living as a clear channel for this power, there is no separation between wanting and having, between desiring and manifesting. In this state, creation becomes effortless, instantaneous. But let me caution you once again. This state is not reached through striving or effort. It is not something you can force or make happen through sheer willpower. Rather, it is a state that you allow yourself to fall into, like sinking into a warm bath. It comes through surrender, through letting go of all resistance, all doubt, all fear. This surrender, this letting go, brings us full circle to where we began. For it is in the state of no longer needing, of no longer desperately wanting, that we open ourselves fully to receiving. It is when we release our tight grip on our desires that we create the space for them to manifest. So, my dear friends, as you go forth from here, I urge you to practice this art of living from the end. Choose a desire, something you wish to manifest in your life. Then, instead of focusing on the lack of it, on the wanting of it, immerse yourself in the feeling of already having it. Live each day from that state of fulfillment. But go beyond this. Expand your consciousness to include ever greater desires. Allow yourself to become a channel for the divine creative power. Live from the state of being one with this power, of allowing it to flow through you unimpeded. And as you do this, watch for the paradox to unfold in your life. Notice how, as you release your attachment to outcomes, as you no longer desperately need your desires to manifest, they often appear in your life with an ease and grace that seems miraculous. Remember, the outer world is but a reflection of your inner state. Change your inner state, and the outer world must change to match it. This is the law, immutable and eternal. But the greatest change, the most profound transformation, comes when you align yourself fully with the divine creative power within you. In this alignment, in this surrender, you discover the ultimate truth, that you are not separate from the creative power of the universe, but are one with it. You are not merely a creature in the universe, but are the universe expressing itself in human form. And in this realization, all paradoxes dissolve, all limitations fall away. So go forth, my friends, and live from this truth. Live each day as though all your desires were already fulfilled, as though you were already one with the infinite creative power of the universe. For in truth you are. And as you live from this truth, you will manifest miracles not just in your own life, but in the lives of all those around you. This is your birthright, your true nature. Claim it, live it, be it. And watch as the paradox of manifestation unfolds in your life, bringing you more abundance, more joy, more love than you ever dreamed possible. For when you no longer need it, when you no longer cling to it with desperate desire, that is when it manifests. This is the paradox, and this is the promise. Embrace it, embody it, and step into the limitless life that awaits you. Remember, my dear friends, that this journey of manifestation is not about accumulating things or achievements. It is about becoming more of who you truly are. It is about allowing the divine essence within you to express itself more fully in your life. As you continue to practice living from the end, as you persist in assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you will find that your entire being begins to shift. Your thoughts, your emotions, your very vibration aligns more and more with the reality you desire to create. This alignment is key, for manifestation is not about forcing the universe to bend to your will. It is about aligning yourself with the natural flow of creation, about becoming a conscious co-creator with the universe. Think of it like tuning a radio. When you tune to a specific frequency, you receive the broadcast on that frequency. Similarly, when you tune your consciousness to the frequency of your desired reality, you begin to receive the experiences, opportunities, and circumstances that match that frequency. But here's another paradox. The more you practice this art of manifestation, the more you realize that the true joy lies not in the getting, but in the being. The thrill is not in acquiring the object of your desire, but in experiencing yourself as the person who has that desire fulfilled. This shift in focus from getting to being is transformative. It frees you from the endless cycle of wanting and acquiring, only to want more. Instead, it allows you to find fulfillment in the present moment, in the very act of being the person you aspire to be. And here's where the paradox deepens even further. As you find this fulfillment in being rather than getting, you often find that the things you once desperately wanted begin to flow into your life with ease. But by then you may find that you no longer need them in the way you once did. You appreciate them, you enjoy them, but your happiness, your sense of self-worth no longer depends on them. This state of non-attachment, of appreciating without needing, is the fertile ground in which miracles grow. It is a state of being that allows the universe to surprise and delight you with manifestations beyond your wildest dreams. But let me be clear, the state of non-attachment does not mean becoming passive or indifferent. On the contrary, it allows you to engage with life more fully, more passionately than ever before. Because when your happiness no longer depends on specific outcomes, you are free to throw yourself wholeheartedly into the experience, every endeavor. This is the state of inspired action, action taken not from a place of lack or need, but from a place of joy, of creative self-expression. And it is this inspired action, coupled with your aligned state of being, that often leads to the most magnificent manifestations. Consider the great innovators and creators throughout history. They did not create from a place of desperate need or want. They created from a place of inspired vision, of seeing possibilities where others saw only limitations. They lived from the end, embodying the reality they wished to create long before it manifested in the physical world. This brings us to another crucial aspect of the paradox of manifestation, the role of faith. Faith in this context is not blind belief or wishful thinking. It is a deep, unshakable knowing that what you have imagined must come to pass. It is the ability to see the invisible, to feel the intangible, to believe the incredible. This kind of faith is not always easy to maintain, especially when your physical senses tell you that nothing has changed. This is where persistence comes in. Persistence in assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Persistence in living from the end, even when all evidence seems to contradict your inner knowing. Remember, my dear friends, that your senses only show you the world as it was, not as it is becoming. They show you the effects of past thoughts and beliefs, not the causes you are setting in motion with your current state of consciousness. This is why it's crucial to base your faith not on what your eyes see, but on what your imagination shows you. For your imagination is the gateway to the infinite possibilities that exist in the realm of pure potential. It is through your imagination that you connect with the creative power of the universe. But here's another paradox. While faith is crucial, attachment to outcomes can hinder manifestation. This is where the art of surrendering comes in. Surrendering doesn't mean giving up on your desires. It means releasing your attachment to how and when they will manifest. When you surrender in this way, you open yourself up to possibilities beyond what your limited human mind can conceive. You allow the infinite intelligence of the universe to bring about your manifestation in ways that are often far more wonderful than anything you could have planned. This surrender, this letting go, is what allows the paradox of manifestation to unfold in your life. When you no longer need it, when you're no longer desperate for it, that's often when it appears. Because in that state of surrender, of non-attachment, you are most aligned with the natural flow of creation. Think of it like planting a seed. You plant the seed, your desire, in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind through imagination and feeling. You water it with your faith and persistence in assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. But then you must let it grow in its own time. You don't dig up the seed every day to see if it's growing. You trust in the unseen processes that are bringing your desire to fruition. This trust, this patience, is an integral part of the manifestation process. It allows the universe to work its magic, to bring together all the elements necessary for your desire to manifest in the best possible way. But patience doesn't mean passivity. While you're waiting for your desire to manifest, live fully in the present moment. Enjoy the journey. Find ways to embody the essence of what you're desiring right now. If you're manifesting wealth, find ways to feel abundant in your current circumstances. If you're manifesting love, be loving to yourself and others. This brings us to another important point. Manifestation is not just about changing your external reality. It's about transforming yourself in the process. As you persist in living from the end, as you continue to embody the person who already has what you desire, you undergo a profound inner transformation. You begin to shed limiting beliefs and negative thought patterns. You start to see yourself and the world around you in a new light. You become more confident, more empowered, more aligned with your true self. And it is this inner transformation that often paves the way for the outer manifestation. Because as you change, your vibration changes. And as your vibration changes, you naturally attract experiences and circumstances that match your new, elevated state of being. This is why the paradox of manifestation is so powerful. It's not just about getting what you want. It's about becoming the person who naturally attracts and creates what you want. It's about aligning yourself with the abundance, love, and success that are your birthright. As we near the end of our exploration of this profound paradox, I want to leave you with a final thought. The ultimate goal of manifestation is not to accumulate things or achievements. It's to fully express your divine nature, to become a clear channel through which the infinite creativity of the universe can float. When you reach this state, you no longer manifest from a place of lack or need. You manifest from a place of abundance, of overflowing love and creativity. Your desires become aligned with the highest good for all. And paradoxically, it's in this state of complete surrender that you often experience the most magnificent manifestations. So my dear friends, as you go forth from here, remember the paradox we've explored tonight. Remember that when you no longer need it, when you fully embody the state of already having it, that's when it often manifests. Live from the end. Persist in the assumption of your wish fulfilled. Have faith in the unseen processes that are bringing your desires to fruition. Surrender your attachment to outcomes. Allow yourself to be transformed in the process. And above all, never forget that you are not separate from the creative power of the universe. You are one with it. You are it, expressing itself in human form. Embody this truth, live from this knowing, and watch as miracles unfold in your life. The paradox of manifestation is not just a principle to be understood intellectually. It is a truth to be lived, to be experienced in every moment of your existence. It is an invitation to step into your true power, to claim your divine heritage as a creator of your reality. So go forth, my friends, and create. Create with joy, with love, with the full knowledge of your oneness with the infinite. For in doing so, you not only manifest your desires, but you fulfill the very purpose of your existence, to be a living expression of the divine creative power that flows through all things. Remember, the world is yourself pushed out. Everything you see, everything you experience is a reflection of your own consciousness. Change your consciousness, and you change your world. This is the promise and the challenge of the paradox of manifestation. Embrace it fully. Live it boldly. And watch as your life transforms in ways more beautiful and magnificent than you ever dared to imagine. For when you no longer need it, when you are it, that is when it manifests. This is the paradox. And this is the promise. Now go and live it.